Hello, welcome to OMES podcast. Really going to be talking about the state of boxing, what's coming up in the next few weeks, couple of months, but also my thoughts on it and where I think it's kind of stagnating. And I've been feeling like this for a couple of months really, where I feel that we're not really getting the number of big fights that I thought we were going to be getting on a regular basis since the Saudis took over, since Turkey al-Sheikh took over really the game. And I suppose that you could go through all the weight divisions. There are certain weight divisions that I think are suffering right now. And I think heavyweight division, whilst it's on a high, there's lots of issues with it, and we're not getting a lot of the fights that I thought we would be getting. A lot of the problems is that obviously Usyk holds the undisputed, he holds all the belts, and there's kind of been a bit of a delay really in getting some fights on. And, you know, like the Parkers of this world, the Cabellos of this world, they're not really getting fights because they're either waiting for Usyk or, you know, they can't really get fights with anybody else. So it's really been held up. I think there's also a problem with the American fights or the fight cards in the United States. You're not really getting the fight cards over there that you really want. Now, obviously, we've got to draw back from that a little bit because then we've got to talk about Canelo Alvarez against Terence Crawford. But that is a Saudi fight card that's coming up in a couple of weeks. You know, that is a massive card. But if you look down the undercard, I wouldn't say they're really big. I mean, I'm looking at it right now actually. So you've got so it's the 13th of September. It's going on at the Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. And there are some decent fights on the undercard, but I wouldn't say they're groundbreaking, you know, fight cards, not world title fight cards. So, world title fights are on the undercard, or maybe the next two or three. So I'm a little disappointed in it from that point of view. It's all going to be on Netflix on this one. So this will be really interesting, you know, if you're a Netflix holder. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be on Netflix. I had no idea. I don't know why I thought that. But anyway, it's saying here it's going to be on Netflix as well. So if you're a Netflix account holder, you're going to be able to watch this for free. I don't believe you're going to have to pay extra for it. So it's going to get millions and millions. Who's going to, win? My money's on Canelo on this one for lots of different reasons, but mostly because I think he's just settled in this weight, whereas Crawford is coming up. And it's not that he can't fight this way. He has never fought this way, but also it's about punch resistance at that weight. And I just think that if big if, of course, if Canelo can get to him, I think that's where it's going to be told. But look, who knows? It's an open fight, really. But I think the smart money will always go on Canelo because it's his weight division, right? If they were at a catch weight or something like that, I think it would be much more of an open discussion. But certainly at this weight, 168, I think it's a Canelo fight all day long. But really, looking at the fights, you know, coming up. You know, we've got Fabio Wardley against Joseph Parker, which has just been announced. And again, this is like a fill-in fight for Joseph Parker because Usyk's really kind of holding up the division a little bit. And I don't know if he's playing games a little bit, Usyk. You know, he had a slight injury, but he seems to be mobile, seems to be out and about. And obviously, you can't really say if he's out and about doing dancing, whether, you know, that's got anything to do with any kind of injury, whatever injury it is. So it can be totally unrelated. But there's no doubt that the heavyweight division has kind of halted a little bit, and I think it needs to be brought up. You know, we've got on the same weekend actually of Canelo against Crawford. Don't forget, fantastic fight, the refight of Crocker against Donovan in Belfast. That was a fantastic fight. I think it was Donovan got disqualified, didn't he, for a late punch after the bell, and they keep on taking the piss out of him, saying, "Did you not hear the bell? Did you not hear the bell?" You know, afterwards, people apparently been coming up to him and saying, "Did you not hear the bell?" I think it's really funny as well. I mean, I had Donovan winning that fight, but then Crocker obviously wins because Donovan gets disqualified. So, you know, contentious. It is what it is, but I think great fight. So, you know, if I'm saying, okay, which one am I going to fight eagerly to watch, it's going to be the Crocker-Donovan fight. That's the one I'm eagerly wanting to watch. You're going to watch that, first of all, and actually by the time it's aired here in the UK, this is going to be early morning fight for Canelo against Crawford. But look, that's for September, right? I can't say for I forgot. On Sunday the 14th, We got Inoue against Akhmadaliev. Probably for me, this is his toughest opponent in a long, long time. So this could be an interesting one for Inoue if he can get through this one, because he's a live one, Akhmadaliev, no doubt. But the 13th and 14th September, that's a great weekend of boxing, right? So my point I'm trying to make is that if up until then, from now, when at the time of this recording of this podcast, until then, there are fight cards, but they're not really great fight cards. After that, you got another wait for another great fight cards, and then you're kind of getting into late October and into November with some decent fight cards. But we're kind of missing a lot here, and I was under the impression, especially when the Saudis and come on, but also especially when that would give the promoters a big push to say, come on, let's work with each other, let's get these fight cards going. And I just don't think it's happened. I just don't think it's happened to what we thought it was going to be. When the Saudis first came on, Turki Al-Sheikh first came on, and he got Frank Warren, Eddie Hearn together. It was almost like the breaking of bread, right? It was almost like, we're going to have something here. We're going to have something where we can all think we're going to get these fights. We're going to get all the fights we want to see, and then we're not really getting them. And I'm looking down the fight cards here. You don't really get it. There are some decent fights, When it's the 27th of September, you're getting Crocker against McComb. I think that'd be a pretty decent fight, actually. On the same night against Sanionis against Mackenzie. Okay, decent. I mean, I wouldn't really say that's great. 4th of October, Masternak against Mann. I don't want to be rude about it, but it's nothing that I would say, wow, we're really looking forward to that fight, right? 11th of October, this is where we're getting Jared Ennis against Lima. Decent fight. But the undercard? Right. On the same night in Sheffield, we got Dave Allen against Makhmudov. That, from a British fight fans' point of view, really interested in this fight. But on the global stage, are we saying this is a massive fight? No. So, Dave Allen's got a lot of street cred recently, or not street cred, not PR cred recently, after his fight against Johnny Fisher, of course, which, demolished him, let's face it. And they've been searching for opponents for him. But, we're not talking about big, high-level fights here, are we? But, it'd be interesting. And then we go all the way down, and it's just like, okay, 25th of October, you got Fundura against Thurman. Yeah, that'd be a decent fight as well. But again, undercard, not really a lot to talk about. And we're going all the way down here. The 1st of November, Boazzi against Parker. That's in Manchester. Interesting. But the undercard? I wouldn't say there's anything to write home about. And you thought, well, actually, when the impetus of the push, the knock-on effect from all the Saudi cards, the Riyadh season fight cards, would be that we'd have a lot more great fights. 14th of November, obviously, Jake Paul against Gervonta Davis. I don't want to watch it. I think it's a load of rubbish. I hate anything that Jake Paul stands for, because he's a nothing fighter for me. But, I'm going to be interested to see, what happens. But it's an exhibition fight. It's not even a real fight. So God knows whatever, what they've come up with to say that Gervonta can't hit him with a certain punch, or he can't do something, or he's going to have to carry him for a few rounds. Also, it's a nonsense fight. So, but on the 15th of November, obviously, we've got the Eubank Jr. against Conor Benn. Rematch. Fantastic. Everybody's looking forward to that fight. So if there's one fight that you're really looking forward to, it's that Eubank fight. But you've got on the undercard here, Jack Catterall, which he hasn't really impressed in terms of performance, in terms of entertainment for a long, long time. But he's going up against Esserman. I rate Esserman. I think he's a great little fighter as well, actually, there. So that'd be an interesting fight. But obviously, Eubank Benn, if they can bring the spectacle like they did last time, that'll be another fight of the year contender. 22nd, Benavides against Yard. Decent fight. Actually, really, really nice fight, actually, there. That's a Riyadh season fight card. But, we got that's a decent undercard there. We've got Haney against Norman Jr., but I think, Haney could have been matched up against somebody else. Noakes is in there against Mason. Yeah, and then you're going down, and it's like, Beterbiev against Nicholson is on there. Obviously, Bivol's still injured, I believe, so I'm not really sure what's happening there. And and then, you get into the 2nd of December, and what we got this, Hatton is coming back against, so we're losing opportunities to have major fights. And I thought we were going to get major fights, and it just hasn't happened. It just hasn't happened in the way that I thought it was going to happen. And, Joseph Parr against Fabio Wardley would be interesting. But what about Cabial? What about all the other top 10 heavyweights? What's happening there? Why is there a glut here? Then you're looking at Martin Bicoli. You're looking at Jagba. You're looking at any of these fights. When are they actually happening? Unless I've missed it, because Bicoli and Jagba was supposed to be a rematch, wasn't it? So I might miss it on one of the undercards. So if I have, do apologise. Let us know in the comments. But any of the other big heavyweights, well, what are they doing? Where are they, And then we're looking at other fighters that are supposed to be coming back, and you're thinking, well, what's going on? Obviously, AJ's out of the question. He's not going to be back until early 2026. He's going to have a nothing fight against somebody. We're still waiting on Tyson Fury, whether he says he's never going to come back, right? So, but they're always hopeful that he will come back just for that AJ fight, of course. That'll be a massive fight. Probably more of a massive fight for UK fight fans than American fight fans. But I've got to say this about the American fight. It always used to be that the American fight cards, especially those Las Vegas nights, were the big fight cards. Well, I don't know what's happened to the American fight scene, the boxing scene, but it's just not there. It seems if the broadcasters have pulled out, all of them. I think the latest is Top Rank have split away from ESPN. There seems to be more of an emphasis on MMA, with UFC especially. So boxing in the United States just seems to have taken a backward step. If you're an American, if you're in the United States, let us know if you're ever going to watch this or listen to this podcast. I doubt anybody will. But can you honestly say that anybody's really that interested in boxing in the United States? I just don't think they are. So in the UK, we're probably flying the flag for boxing, and Mexico for lightweights, and Japan's coming on strong in terms of, obviously, Inoue. But it's not only Inoue. There's a whole crop of boxers, coming up or who've established themselves that are great fighters, right? But the European boxing scene isn't that great. When you're looking at, France, Germany, Italy, there isn't anything really there. Obviously, Russia's out of it. But then you got the new organisation, which is trying to bring out those Russian fighters, those Eastern European fighters that never seem to get a look in. Because, there's bound to be a whole crop of them. There's bound to be a whole crop in Africa as well, which they're trying to bring forward. But nothing's happening now. This is my point. Nothing seems to be happening with the promoters to get big fight cards on. And I kind of look at the likes of Eddie Hearn, and I kind of like the looks of Frank Warren. Frank Warren was, putting on some really decent fight cards, and maybe there's more to come. And certainly, maybe we're just going through a little period here in sort of 2025 where we don't seem to be getting decent, real good fight cards on there right now. And, Frank Warren did quite a few last year, especially with the Magnificent Seven and some other decent one. Eddie Hearn was a couple. He seems to be tagging on to other fight cards as opposed to launching his own. That are big ones. Yes, I know they're doing lots of fight cards around the world in terms of that. Australia is another fight scene that seems to be bubbling away as well. So I don't know what they're playing at in terms of putting on these fight cards. And I think it's got to come down to, are these going to be headline acts? Are they going to get bums on seats? And are they going to make any money of it? Because it was always the case when we knew that these Riyadh season fight cards were starting, the Turkey al-Sheikh and the Saudis were going to pay top dollar, crazy money for these fights. It was unrealistic. Especially when you had Ngannou against Tyson Fury, many people saying, oh, fantastic, they're going to earn millions and millions and millions. And lots of people, and I was one of them as well, was saying, yeah, but this does not make financial sense. It does not sell. It does not sell. It does not make financial sense. And it certainly doesn't sell in the United States. in terms of the numbers. So you got to look at a global audience to see. Now, some fights will draw that attention, but most won't. So I just wonder that overpayment from the Saudi Turkey Al Sheikh initially, maybe that's reduced a little bit. But every boxer, every manager, every coach, whatever, is trying to get onto that gravy train so that they're stopping fighting. They're not fighting because they want to be paid even more, even extra. And it just doesn't make financial sense to get all that money. Unless you've got a broadcaster in place, unless you're going to fill out that arena, it's going to be sell out, that it's going to pay for everything. It's not going to make financial sense. And maybe that's the reason why we're not getting the fight cards that I thought we would really get. I honestly thought we would get a lot more. But we're just not. We're and especially in the heavyweight division, I just don't think we're getting it. And yeah, okay, we've got to allow for some injuries and we've got to allow for some, hard fights that have been happening. But, my hat's off to somebody like Fabio Wardley, right? Fabio Wardley, he's kept himself busy. He had a bit of a beating against Justice Hunis, but, he came out with that wonder punch that won him the fight towards the end of the fight. Was it the last round? I can't remember which round it was now. But, he hasn't taken him long to get back in the ring. So this is where my point against other boxers, of any weight division. Well, why is it taking you so long to get back in the ring? What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the big payday? Well, the problem is if you keep on waiting for the big payday, then you're not going to be ring fit. You're not going to be match fit. You're not going to be fight fit. And, you're going to do yourself a disservice. I'm a great believer that you got to keep yourself active. You got to keep, especially as a boxer, especially as a fighter, you've got to keep yourself active. Okay, barring injury, barring that, you've got to keep yourself. And you should be aiming for 3 or 4 fights a year. Especially those boxers who make a quick job of it. 1-2 round knockout, don't get marked, don't get any kind of punishment themselves. They're the ones that, well, actually, you make quick work of it, then get back in the ring again. Capitalize on it, earn more money, even if you're going to get slightly less for your next fight, earn more money. Just keep on going. Because if you're, especially let's say a Moses Tama, right, got him out there really, really quick. All his fights gets him out there 1 or 2 rounds. That's it, done. And he said, well, actually, what's the hold up then? Just get in another ring again. Oh, because nobody want to fight him. So, well, make it worth their while to fight. Put him in the ring so it becomes a household name, just like the likes of AJ. Put him in the ring as a household name so that people invest in it and they just want to watch it. They want to watch it on a regular basis. Like, we as football fans want to watch our team on a regular basis, right? You want to watch football. So I kind of think with these big fight cards, you think, well, actually, hold on a minute. Hold on. Just hold on a minute. You're not giving us the product that we want. We actually want more fight cards, more good fight cards with high level boxing, world championship boxing, on those, and the undercards need to match up to it. And we as I say, most of this, I think the problem has come from the United States. No, they're not filling in the fight cards as I think they should be in terms of the numbers of good fight cards. But also here in the UK, it's kind of dried up a little bit. And there was a point where we kind of go, wow, this is amazing. Now, I'm going to pull myself back from this as well, because we're in the summer months, right? So those big fight cards from Riyadh season haven't really kicked back into gear again. So they're going to start in end of September, beginning of October. So we hopefully get 2 or 3 fight cards, 4 fight cards out of that, some big, huge fight cards. But I just wonder whether we're not going to get those, like the early ones where they had banger after banger after banger in terms of those big fight cards. Fabio Wardley was on a couple of those. Cabial was on a couple of those. You had obviously Tyson Fury, against. Who was he fighting initially? I just mentioned his name. His name's gone from me. Ngannou, of course. Decent fight card underneath. Obviously, the AJ fight cards, decent fights underneath. And then you come through, well, okay, we want more of that. And just recently, the last few fight cards, you kind of think, okay, you might get in the top fight, But below, are you getting rid of those fights? And I just wonder if they're looking at the numbers. This is Riyadh season. This is Turkey Al-Sheikh. And I just wonder if they're looking at this and thinking, do you know what, we're not getting the numbers that we thought we were going to get. We're not getting a global audience as we thought we were going to get. We're not getting the prestige, whatever it is. Amongst boxing fans, amongst fight fans, you probably are. But in terms of a global audience, that crossover audience that we always talk about in terms of boxing, especially boxing, but any sport really, to make somebody a household name, to invest, to get people invested in this sport, to watch this sport where they wouldn't normally watch it, then you kind of think, well, maybe it's not as good as we thought it was as a product, as something to, grab onto. I mean, it all started for me to go down a little bit downhill when Dana White started to get involved with it. Obviously, he's involved with the Canelo against the Crawford fight, United States. And I think that's why they want to try to tie in with the UFC to also bring back that American audience as much as they possibly can. But if you don't put on good fight cards and great fights in the United States, it's not going to happen, right? And doing them in Riyadh or doing them in any other part of the world, in terms of time differences, the Americans don't like that. The Americans don't like watching boxing in the afternoon. They want it in the evening. So, again, we have to suffer on this side because it'll be about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning fight. But if that massive audience there that might want to pay, you've got to try and bring them back over from the UFC now. So the only way to do that is have it in their time slot, have it in their evenings or Saturday evenings, and also put big household names in there. And, I saw Ruiz Jr., training the other day as well, the other week, whenever it was. I think, well, he's been one of the worst in keeping himself active, and getting fights on. You've got the other heavyweights, any of the boxers from the United States, but heavyweights. Let's just focus on that right now. Ruiz Jr. hasn't been active. You've got, I don't know, there's about 4 or 5 that I could say they fought once in the last couple of years. That's just not enough. Now, I understand that if your broadcasters have moved away, if the broadcasters have moved away from the promoters, then essentially the promoters are not putting on fight cards because they just got nothing to sell it to. Well, hold on a minute. You're promoters. It doesn't necessarily mean that only your shows will go on broadcasters, right? But you kind of need to promote and start again. You need to find another broadcaster. Well, the UK promoters have all gone pretty much. They've all gone over to DAZN. Obviously, there's only the one, which is a boxer, Ben Shalom, that's gone over to BBC now. So we're waiting for those fight cards to come on as well. So that's going to be interesting to see what's going to be on those fight cards. Good domestic bust-ups and things like that. But we want entertaining fights, just like when I watch football. I want to watch entertaining football. I don't want to watch bust-ups. I want to watch, end-to-end stuff in terms of football parlance. This is the same for boxing. You want to watch, two boxers really going for it, not playing the defensive game. We don't want to watch it. We don't want to watch it. Whilst it's good from a technical point of view, you want something that you're going to be really kind of invested in and that you're really going to jump on as well. But I just wonder where the next big fight cards are going to come from in terms of having them on a regular basis. Yeah. And when we're talking about, it's almost like we've reverted back to the main headline fight, the main fight, and then the undercard is a bit thin in terms of great quality or real bangers that we really want to watch, right? They could turn out to be that fight, right? But what I'm saying is just from the optics, looking in and looking at those fights, and you think, and especially looking at those fights for crossover audience, there's nothing there. There's nothing there for a crossover audience. So you kind of think, well, what is boxing in a great position or is it not in a great position? I thought there was a point where it could have been in a great position. I thought there was an opportunity where this could have been something really special, and I just don't think we're there. I think we've kind of gone back. We've kind of gone back with the entertainment value. We've kind of gone back with something. I mean, let's face it, right? When you're putting on the likes of Moses Atoma against Dillian White as your headline fight, you kind of think, okay, interesting, intrigue. He's a 12-fight heavyweight. He's a 12-fight heavyweight. Yes, lots of prospect, but he's still a prospect. And you're going and putting him as a headline fight, and that's what you're pinning your hopes on as being great entertainment. And then you're looking at the undercard and you're thinking, are you sure about that? And then you look at some of the other undercards and you think, and they have written in terms of delivered. I mean, there's some bias towards me because I look at some of the undercards and I look at a fight like a Shakur Stevenson, and I think I just can't get. There's nothing Shakur Stevenson does that entertains me. I'm not saying about the quality of his boxing because he's a fantastic elite boxer, right? But in terms of bringing the show, you know, like Devin Haney again, bringing the show doesn't do it. And that's where I think there's a problem. But anyway, so let's have a look and see what happens over the next couple of months, really. But there's more fight cards going to be introduced. There's more fight cards going to be announced, of course. We're waiting for those. We're waiting to see how these slot in. I'm just hoping that it's going to open up for a lot more, and the powers that be, in terms of especially Riyadh season, especially Turkey Al Sheikh, and the Ring Magazine fight cards as well. I just hope that they kind of review what they've been doing or trying to do and think, actually, hold on a minute, we need to bring the show back, not just at the main event. We need to bring the show and the excitement all the way through the fight card. And we're missing some really big names. There's some big characters. They're trying to big names. Certainly for the Riyadh season fight card. Certainly from the UK, we're trying to do it. But there's lots that aren't happening. Lots happening. Anyway, listen, that's it for now. So let us know your thoughts in the comments below. But I'll catch you again on another podcast coming very, very soon. Well, looking forward to the boxing. But the next fight is going to be Canelo against Crawford. That's the main one. Let us know your thoughts. What's going to happen there? Let me know of all the other fights that I've mentioned. What are your thoughts on that? But I'm going for Canelo. Got to go for Canelo on this one. Catch you again. Bye now.